Imagine getting married, deciding you're not going to hand your future kids to daycare, and then somehow building a global business in 20 countries out of that one conviction. That is the story of today's guest.
For things to change, you got to change. If we want something different, then we have to make some changes.
A young couple in their early 20s, Curt and Lori Beavers, set out for a simple, specific goal. Let's find a way to make an extra $1,000 a month from home. Friends introduced them to Juice Plus, and within their very first month, they hit that $1,000 target. That was their kairos moment. This wasn't just side income, it was a completely different way to design a life. Fast forward, and Curt Beavers is now one of the top 10 Juice Plus distributors on the planet, leading a team of more than 40,000 distributors in over 20 countries and all 50 states, with hundreds of millions in lifetime sales.
You need to find a business. Yes, it was the ground floor for me. It's established itself so that it's a launching pad for any generation whenever they've come in.
He's the founder of Make a Life, LLC, a leadership and personal growth company that equips people to respond to their next kairos moment with courage and intention. He's the author of the book, Make a Life, Not Just a Living, where he lays out how he designed a life of good health, business success, time freedom, and true joy. And he co-authored I Call Shotgun, a series of letters to his sons about character, courage, faith, and responsibility, who has used his time freedom to serve on ministry boards. Curt travels from his home in Georgia, speaking at conferences and events, mentoring leaders every week. Everything he does is centered on one simple question. Are you satisfied just making a living, or are you ready to make a life?
It's about the quality of life that you want versus necessarily the riches of life that you want. Because we decided to make the life, not make a paycheck.
On this episode of The Authentic Networker, we're going to unpack Curt's kairos story, how a $1,000 a month goal became a global enterprise, and how he's built 15 years of consecutive double-digit growth in a relationship business. And how does he use that platform to help leaders and transform families? We'll talk about building in over 20 countries without losing your soul, and what it really looks like to make your business fit within your life. So if you've ever felt that nudge that there must be something more than punching a clock, if you're wondering how to align your life, your family, and your financial future in one integrated mission, you're in the right place. Stay with us. This is The Authentic Networker with Richard Bliss Brooke and your guest today, Curt Beavers.
Richard Bliss Brooke here. We are live.
We sit here today with none other than
Mark Victor Hansen,
Bob Proctor,
this is Kendra Hall,
Tanya Stringer,
Jeff Canfield, Whit Jones,
James Clear,
Les Brown.
Hey, everybody. Here I am with Curt Beavers. Curt, welcome to the Authentic Networker podcast.
Glad to be here. Should I say aloha? Are you in I guess you're in Hawaii over there. I'm jealous.
Yeah, we're a ways apart, but we're both looking at water.
That's good.
Isn't that the end game that we work so hard for, is work, so you can sit at your desk and look at water.
And be around the people you enjoy doing it with.
That's right. So tell everybody, where are you? Where do you live? Where have you, at least at this point in your life, landed, and what are you looking at?
Well, I am a native of Atlanta, Georgia, like 7th generation native. So I've never lived anywhere but Georgia, but I've got business in all 50 states and 26 countries. But right now, we are at our new favorite place. We've been here 13 years. I'm staring at Lake Oconee, Georgia. We have 9 golf courses, and it's the only lake in the world that has a Ritz-Carlton on it. There are lots of Ritz-Carltons on beaches and oceans, but we have one on a lake here. It's like a cabin. It's really cool.
I love that. So you can boat to the Ritz.
And we can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So tell everybody your story. Where did you come from? We'll get a lot into this about who you are and what you've created, but I want to know where you came from, including maybe a little bit about your parents and growing up and brothers and sisters and school. Give us some context. Who is Curt Beavers?
Yeah, so I did, like I said, I was born in Atlanta to my parents, Curtis and Jackie, so I'm a junior. And I have one brother. And we kind of grew up on a silver spoon. My dad was like Mr. Atlanta, played football at Georgia Tech on the national championship team, pitched for the Cardinals. And then he had 28 furniture stores in Atlanta. And my parents, he was always gone, so I didn't really have a present dad. That's a whole nother story about God put amazing men in my life to play that role. But my parents got divorced, or he left when I was like 13. But on that day, they came to our house. Two guys in suits did. Never forget it. They took our house, both cars, and my mom's wedding ring because my dad had filed bankrupt.
Whoa.
And that was a hard. I mean, they didn't tell me all the details at the time. I was 12, but I just knew how bad it was. I didn't know, and we ended up leaving and moving into my grandparents' 2-bedroom cement block lake house up on Lake Lanier, and that's where my mom began to raise us as a single parent, and have one brother.
You must have made some pretty important life decisions about that time. Do you remember?
Well, yeah, I mean, I had to be willing to trust my mom because she just swooped us up and took us away at 12. You're going through all those hormone changes and adolescence and trying to figure out if girls are good or bad and that kind of stuff. But I do remember we ended up spending a lot of time with my mom's parents, my grandparents. I had a wonderful grandmother. And she cared for us, took care of us. But the one thing I'll always remember is my mom, with no college degree, she got us tennis shoes, tennis rackets, football equipment, bought us a car when we turned 16. She was able to do all that because my mom really paved the way for me. She was in direct sales before I was.
Ah, what was she selling?
Grace Kinzer, who was a lady in Atlanta, who was a kind of a Christian matriarch. My mom was in a Bible study she led. She had started a company called Kinzer's Homestyle Foods, which sold to a big conglomerate and went public. But she gave my mom $40 to buy a little kit to sell aloe vera skincare with a company called Lady Love Cosmetics out of Dallas, Texas.
Lady Love Cosmetics.
Yeah, it was almost all aloe vera. And from the time I was 15 all the way through college, I worked at the warehouse. They were kind of set up like it was direct sales network marketing, but they had like regional vice presidents, kind of like where they had warehouses and regional offices.
Yep.
So my mom had the Atlanta office, and I drove the truck and delivered jugs of aloe vera to women all over the Southeast as a teenager. And I didn't think about it, but that, as we get deeper into my story, that was paving a foundation for me to believe in this industry even before I was in it,
Yeah. So, where'd you go to school and where'd you end up in the workforce?
So I went to Georgia Tech. Well, back up. I went to Emory because when I was 12, I had knee surgery. I fell in love with my orthopedic surgeon. Thought I wanted to be a doctor my whole teenage career. And went to Emory, got a degree in microbiology and organic chemistry, and decided I didn't want to be a doctor. So I went to Georgia Tech and got a business degree and took 4 years of calculus. So I got a lot of wasted knowledge in my head up there. I can't say that I've ever used any of those things. But I got out of Georgia Tech, never thinking I was going to be selling pills or recruiting people or, really anything like that. I was going to go into commercial real estate or stocks and bonds or insurance, something where you could make big money. And my first year out of school, I went to work for a real estate guy. He had made $70 million the previous year in the multifamily, buying and selling apartments. And so I was going to be his flunky, his crony, and he was going to teach me the skills and the ways of the world, and then I'd learn how to do what he did. And I got married that year too. My wife was an executive secretary at a bank, and so I made $17,000 that year. She made $16,000, but we were hopefully positioning ourselves for the future. I remember hearing your story, kind of like when you were doing the chickens. You were cleaning the chickens, and you said, it seemed like the normal path. You learn how to do something, you advance, and move up the ladder. So I guess we were there, but there was a November Sunday that changed our life forever, I would say.
Let's hear about that.
Okay. So we got married. I was the associate college pastor at a big church in Atlanta, First Baptist Church. Charles Stanley was the pastor. He actually married us. And my wife and I actually met. The church threw a surprise birthday party for me, and she came. That's how we met. But one Sunday afternoon, we were in this big Sunday school class. Like, I'm talking maybe 200 people, like, of couples that were under age 30. I mean, it was very organized, people in our demographic. And the pastor had preached a great sermon on getting out of debt. The sermon was on, finances and biblical principles of money. And we got home, and my wife was like, she was upset. She was like almost crying. And like, she was a planner. I mean, like, if you wanted to go to Disney World, Richard, in 3 years and make sure you had the fast passes and everything, she's your girl. She's going to plan ahead like that. And so we were going to be married 3 years, have our first child. She had it all mapped out, and then wait 2 years, have the second, wait 2 years, have the third, then we'd be done. She had it all figured out. And she came home crying today. She said, we're never going to have kids. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you upset about? She said, we both have jobs. I'll never be able to quit. I don't want to put my kids in daycare 40 hours a week. And I don't ever see it changing. And it was that moment, there's always times and places in life where maybe you want to start exercising, maybe you want to learn a new skill, but you just keep putting it off. You talk about it. Sounds like a great idea. You dream about it. Maybe dream's the right word, but you just talk. You don't do anything about it. And that was the night in which we had talked about her being able to stay at home, being a mom, taking care of the kids, pouring into the kids while I worked and provided for our family. But we'd never really done anything about it. We were just kind of letting time pass. And it was that moment we got serious enough that said, enough's enough. For things to change, you got to change. If we want something different, then we have to make some changes. So believe it or not, Richard, we had this prayer chain at our church where, like, if somebody was sick, somebody's mom died, somebody had a new baby, you could just, add something to the prayer list. And so I went in and called and said, hey, would you put this on the prayer list? Lori is really looking for a way she can work from home and make $1,000 a month. Because, because it was so crazy, but she was working in the top level of CNS Bank with all the lawyers, corporate executives, and she had to dress like she was successful because she had to fit in with that group of people, but she was making $16,000 and they were all making, big bucks. She had to park in a place where her car that she loved for me to keep clean was right over the pigeons. And so there was pigeon poop every day. She had to buy her lunch. She had to dry clean her clothes, pay for parking, and so she didn't have to replace her income. We just needed a little bit of money so she could stay at home. So we had a plan, put the word out, and lo and behold, somebody from our church called and said, hey, this is Ann. You don't know me, but I saw somebody gave me your name from your prayer list, and I was with Eastern Airlines and lost my job, and I think what I'm doing could be something for Lori. And they cooked us dinner, told us the story, shared their passion, and it's funny. You'll get a kick out of this because you're probably a type A personality like me. We left that meeting. This lady was like the sweetest person in the world, Richard. I mean, she's like, if you were dying or you were sick, you would want her sitting in the chair next to you, holding your hand, making you soup, wrapping you in a blanket, but you would never think she could sell anything. I mean, it was like, this lady's so sweet, but she can't sell anything. And I'll never forget, we walked out, and the thing I remember, she said, well, I made $87,000 my first year. And we left, and we said, thank you for dinner. And she said, well, let us know what you think. And we didn't make a decision right then because we were kind of in shock, but young couple, free food, it was all good, And we were driving home, and Lori said, what do you think? I said, I don't know if we can make $87,000. But if she can make $87,000, we can make $1,000 a month with one hand tied behind our back. Yep. That was not a knock on her. It was just like, she was not a salesperson, but she believed in something with passion. And she had a crisis in her life where she needed something to come fix the problem. And she was hungry enough to do what it took to make it work. And she did. And
I know you've built an empire in Juice Plus. Was that Juice Plus?
Same company, but actually when I started, the company was the largest water filter company in the world. We were selling water filtration equipment back then.
NSA.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I love this story. So tell us about the start. What did the start look like? And I know that was a totally different model that's not really applicable today, but
I mean, the principles are the same. The product was
Yep.
different, and the price tag, it was a one-time sale versus a residual item. But I mean, you know, to paint people a picture, I had a fax machine that I paid $2,400 for that was on a 24-month payment plan. I had a roll of quarters and a pager to stop at a payphone to return phone calls. And we went at it 24/7 as hard as we could go because we got excited. Since we had never done anything like this before, personally, I watched my mom, but I don't think I had made the connection yet. It was like she was like slopping around jugs of aloe vera, and I was delivering it in a truck. It hadn't fortified in my head yet, but they told us, they said, make a list of 300 names, and we'll show you how to talk to them. I went to a meeting. Back then they called them opportunity meetings. That was kind of the term of the day. And you got to see successful people that I think the goal was, well, these guys aren't any better than I am. If they can do it, I can do it. And so
a
that
lot of a lot of people who were enrolled in our business by watching somebody, they said, well, if he can do it.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, and it worked. I mean,
Yeah.
it totally worked. So what's really psychologically weird is today people said, you made a list of 300 names. I said, well, you don't know the whole of the story. I was like, we were stupid enough, naive enough that we were just going to do what they told us because we didn't know what else to do. So we thought we were in trouble because we went home the first night and we got to 150 names on our list. And it was like, we don't know anybody else. We were 22 and 23. Yep. So I got to that 150. We thought we were stuck. And I was actually calling back in and said, I'm sorry, guys. We can't. I called this lady and said, we can't get 300 names. I don't know what that means. If we can't do this, that's fine, but we can't get 300 names. And she said, oh, no, just get the phone book out. I'm like, you have got to be freaking kidding. And there's no way I'm doing the New York stockbroker thing and dialing for dollars. I'm not doing it. And she said, no. She said, I'm trying to get you to make a memory jogger, and the phone book's going to jog your memory. I said, what do you mean? She says, well, start with, it's alphabetized, right? And I said, yeah. For you young people out there, we used to actually have physical phone books. I know you don't have one anymore, but they used to actually be things that people used them to sit on in the car if they were short, they were big. And, but she said, start with architects and then go to barbers and chiropractors and doctors and exterminators and farmers and garage door salesmen. And as you go through there, you're going to think of names that you never thought of. You've never done this exercise. So jog your memory. Now, today we've got PDFs and all kind of documents that have those categories on them. But back then, they just threw the phone book at you. And sure enough, I mean, we got another 150 names like within 24 hours. Because we had gone through, the natural thing was your wedding list, your yearbooks,
Right.
your college directory. And then, so once we had that list, we said sick 'em, and we were 300 conversations the first month. It was crazy.
So you front loaded your activity with lots and lots of conversations. So this leads me, Curt, to when it comes to network marketing, I'm sure you agree with me on this, that, belief is number one. You got to believe that you can do this. You got to have a reason to do it, but then you got to believe that it can work for you. And one of the things I think helps people believe is actually understanding the numbers. So I didn't prep you for this. I don't know if you know, but I'd love for you to tell us how many people you think you personally enrolled in your first year.
Let me think about that. I know I did 5 my first month. Let me just briefly mention that because we got 38 customers our first month. So it wasn't 300 conversations and 300 customers. We had 300 conversations because I was told, don't put pressure on people. Have fun conversations, but just talk to enough people that enough say yes now and some will say yes later.
So we got 38. 10.
Huh?
You got 1 out of 10, basically.
Yeah. So we got 38 customers, and I believe this, I can't prove it, but of those 38 customers, actually 13 came and looked at the business too. And I think it was because we told people how this business was solving this crisis in our life. I think that people were more attracted to Curt and Lori on a journey. This is amazing. They didn't maybe have the same journey, but One wanted to put their kids in a private school. One desperately needed to take care of an elderly parent. One was tired of getting on an airplane 6 days a week and never got to see his family. So everybody had some situation that for things to change, they had to change. So they listened to our story more than they did, the product or the business itself. And so of that, 13 people said, yeah, can you tell us what you're doing? This is amazing. And we really didn't know how to recruit. It was just kind of naturally happened as we talked and told our story. So 38 customers, 13 looked at the business, and 5 joined us the first month. So we got, that was our first month. And we started running and gunning with those 5 people. So you kind of recruit, and then you have to absorb and train, and you recruit and you absorb and train. It's kind of the rhythm we felt like we were in, because you couldn't just keep recruiting. You'd never be able to help anybody,
Right. So you drove those 5 legs as
Yeah.
deep as you could?
Yep, we did. I mean, like, I remember one of those legs, we had 62 people in Birmingham 6 weeks later because they were from Birmingham, Alabama,
Mhm.
So it was like, while they could reproduce and they let you into their network, we called it a warm market. So, I mean, the people at the warm market would be not people you didn't know they were on a list, but people that if you call them and you said, hey, this is Curt, they'd say, hey, Curt, this is Sam. And, there'd be a name familiarity. So as long as the people we brought on board were putting us into their warm market, we didn't feel like there was a need yet to go into the next layer of our warm market. But I would say the first year, we probably averaged 3 a month. So we might have recruited 36 to the first year or something like that. That's not an exact number. I don't remember exactly.
Yep. That sounds about right. And where were you at? Did you make the 87,000 your first year?
We made over 100,000 our first year. We actually reached the top level in the company our 8th month in the business. Yeah.
Wow. That's beautiful. And so that was 30 years ago?
I'm in my 39th year. I was
39. Good for you with the
Yep.
same company.
Yep.
So you've been through some big transitions, including moving out of water filters into nutrition. Tell us about that, because some people that are listening, they may be about to go through the same thing, or they've been through the same thing. In the last 39 years, you were probably presented with many, many good reasons why you should quit Juice Plus and do something else.
Yeah, I mean, that's a true statement. But when you bring on board people that you love, that you would be doing life with, even if you weren't in business with them, there's some kind of glue that those relationships, we're in this together, that you feel like if there was a legitimate reason you might leave, or were you going to sever all those relationships
Right.
in order to do that? So the move from water filters to air filters was certainly quite an experience, because like you said, it's entirely different product.
Yep.
But I remember that was 1993, and I went to a conference where they were introducing Juice Plus, and I had my bag packed because I was going to Mexico, because we were launching water filters in Mexico the same time we were launching Juice Plus in America.
Big change to move full on nutrition.
Yeah. So I carried a box of Juice Plus with me to Mexico. Remember it vividly. It was in an orange box, and I had on a white shirt, and it was raining that day, and the packaging was so bad, my shirt turned orange because it leaked off the box. So I got on the plane to Mexico with a half white, half orange shirt. But that was hard. We didn't understand it. But come to find out, and you can appreciate this, our model of network marketing at the time was very front end loaded, and there were people, it's sad to say, but we called them garage qualified people. That meant that basically they got so excited about this, they didn't worry about selling the product. They were trying to buy their way in.
Right.
And they ended up with garages full of water filters that they didn't know they were going to have to sell. And it created a negative image for the company. It was really bad. But our founder, Jay Martin, this is when I developed more trust in our leadership. It was a hard transition.
So tell me about the business now. One of the things that I know people that have been doing this a long time that could retire but have not retired, they're still in the conversation. And one of the things you get to do is work with new people
Yeah.
joining Juice Plus and tell them why now? Why
Yep.
the future? Why is Juice Plus still relevant as an
Right.
opportunity? Why is it perhaps more relevant? Because, when you have a big past, it's a long past, but it's a big story.
Yep.
It very often overshadows the future for
Yep.
somebody just looking to get started. So
Yep.
what is your perspective on that? Why somebody starting a Juice Plus and why now?
You're so right, because I mean, the excuse for people not diving into one of our a model in our industry, a business model, is, well, you got in at the right time. It was I mean, sure, you're successful. You got in on the ground floor. I mean, you've heard that before, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They
And
don't understand what the ground floor looked like.
and what I would like to tell that person is, you need to find a business. Yes, it was the ground floor for me, but it's established itself so that it's a launching pad for any generation whenever they've come in. So a company that's, the old Jim Collins company that's good to great, the companies that don't just stay good, that go to great, they're not a launching pad one time. They're always a launching pad for people to they've had to adapt and change. Our business is different than it was with a fax machine and a pager and a roll of quarters. And we've got cell phones and websites and apps and all that kind of stuff now to support the technology. In some senses, I think it'd be easier to go back to the fax machine. I think technology has complicated our lives.
It
I was
is.
just on a Zoom call, like, well, how do you communicate with your team? I'm like, it's hard because there's 30 different ways you could communicate with them, and 3 to 4% of them are on each platform. So as a leader, you got to use all of them, which is crazy
Right.
today, but
Yeah.
it sucks. But Juice Plus today, I think, because of like the change from from water filtration to nutrition, the changes we went through in Y2K, when all the economic crises we've gone through, the 2008 housing bubble, when we went through another economic crisis. When you're an older company that's mature, you come to understand that our business is a little bit economic cycle proof, because when things are going great and people have disposable income, it's simple and easy to sell the product. When people are in a crisis and they're losing jobs and they're trying to just recover economically, it's easy to recruit people into a home-based business model. So you kind of have to know which one is the lane to operate in at the moment based on what the economy's doing. So it's kind of like real estate. It's always buy low and sell high, but you got to know which market you're in order to know which game to play. So our industry is very much the same, and Juice Plus has adapted to that. One of the most recent things that's interesting, a lot of companies in our industry have been the jewel of the private equity eye. There have been a lot of companies that have come out there where people that know nothing about our business have come in and said, this is a gold mine, I'm going to buy it. And, we've been through probably 3 rounds of private equity in my 39 years. And it impacts you, but they've all been good. But in an economy, it's so good to see where you've got owners invested in the game. They're not just on the outside. And what we have now is we've been through, I'm going to be brutally honest because that's just how I am. We've been through a couple years of really tough times because we waited too late to make some of the digital and technology advancements that we needed to make. Things were going so well that it was just things we should have done 10 years ago, we've just done in the last 24 months.
Mhm.
So like during COVID, it was hard because our people couldn't respond well to people that wanted to run their lives from a computer screen. We weren't doing live events. There weren't things going on. So we had to make some transitions, but we have an amazing app. We've got an amazing CEO. We've got amazing stakeholders and owners in our company. And we just launched and got into the gut health arena, which was a whole new, I'm a big fan of a book called Play Big by, I forgot the author's name. I wish I could give him credit, but he talks about how, if you want to be top 10, yeah, you can sell a bunch of stuff. But if you want to be really number one in your industry, you got to know what business you're in and you got to own that lane. You got to own that category and be good at what you're good at. And we've done that in the fruit and vegetable powders. The research we have is unmatched anywhere in the industry. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of research. But sometimes you need to be a hero in more than one lane. And we've realized that. And so our new ownership and our innovative team just launched us into the gut health arena, and it's been super successful.
Yeah.
But but just having an app to run our business from your pocket. I mean, the world demands mobile first, a mobile friendly environment. And we've got that now, which is like super exciting to me.
So I know one of the things that you are a big advocate of is, it's not all about money and it's not all about business. That one of the things you learn along the way is to appreciate the softer arts of life, people, health.
Yeah.
And that probably led to writing this book,
Yep.
Make a Life. So when did you write this?
That book came out in 2018, I believe.
Okay. Making a life, not just a living. What do you mean by that?
One of the things that inspires me to go talk to young couples and people and young couples, people that were my age in the beginning, but I'm not, you and I are close to the same demographic. We're probably a few years off, but as you talk to people, your brain remembers what you hear. And the consistent message that I heard was, I'm making money, but I'm not getting to do what I really want to do. People were held captive to the way they created a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I felt God had given me and my wife in this business. It was, yes, we made a bunch of money, but what he had given us was the ability to make choices, the ability to be available for our kids growing up, the ability to be available to serve on 12 different ministry boards, write 2 books, bring 30 kids from Kosovo into our cabins in the mountains, once a year and give them their first Bible. There were things that we got to do because we decided to make a life, not make a paycheck. And so that book, and unless you're John Gresham today, you don't write a book to make money. You write a book to get a message. You may agree or disagree with me, but you write a book.
Totally agree with that.
You write a book to get a message out. Amazon's changed that game, but I've written 2 books, and it's like a big business card for me. It's who I am. It's my life message, and it's become a recruiting tool for a lot of people in our business because it, like you said, it's not slobbered and drooling with get rich quick. Buy a new watch, buy a new car, buy a bigger house. It's about the quality of life that you want versus necessarily the riches of life that you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think one of the things that you and I appreciate about the network marketing model is, it is a lot of work to build it to the level that you want to build it to, but everything is a lot of work that's worth it. But on the other side, once it gets big enough, you do get that time freedom.
Yeah.
And so you can do more than work. And then you have the funds to do more than work, do some good with your money. It's a beautiful life for those people that can learn to believe in it and build it. What do you see for you and your future? I don't smell retirement or coasting here. Balance for sure, but I still see Eye of the Tiger in you. What's the future look like?
Yeah, people call me the ever-ready bunny. God's given me a lot of energy, so I got to figure out where to distill that energy. I get up at 4 every day, Richard. I mean, I don't have to, but when I was 13, I was telling my dad wasn't around, so I had a guy that tell me, he said, you need to have a quiet time every day to start your day, and you need to have a purpose that drives your life. And at 13, that was right over my head.
Right.
But today, I mean, when my kids started getting in school and stuff, I have 3 kids and 7 grandkids. When my kids got into school, they stole my early morning time. And it was so important to me to put the good stuff in my body so that the people that I met that day, that they got my overflow. I filled myself up with such good stuff and not the crap the world throws at you, that I would have an overflow of goodness in me that would come out, wisdom, knowledge, whatever it was. And so that became so important. I just started getting up at 4 because I had that 4 to 6 window that was, let's fill up Curt. Then at 6, we'll get up the kids and do the family thing. So today I still do that. I mean, there's absolutely no reason for me to get up at 4 o'clock, but my body between 3:57 and 4:02 just wakes me up every day. So I get up and my goal is to read 70 books this year, plus the ones I listen to. I got convicted last year not to just listen to audiobooks, but there's something about having a highlighter and the paper in your hand that it affects your brain and your mind a whole lot more than just multitasking and listening to something while you bounce around. So I'm doing that. I picked up pickleball. I love pickleball. So I don't know if you play pickleball yet?
Every day for 2 hours.
Yeah. I play every morning from 8:30 to 10:30. We're on the same pattern. So that's where I meet a lot of my new contacts, like to
Yeah.
bring, and so I can tell you honestly that I don't remember the last time I woke up and I went out the door to sell Juice Plus, or I went out the door to go recruit somebody, but I do that every day on a regular basis, because whether I'm on the pickleball court and somebody's nose is running and they're taking another antibiotic, I'm like, why don't you just not have to take antibiotics and get healthy? And all of a sudden the conversation pops up, or you're out and about and somebody said, my kids, she is so tired of teaching school. The school system's a mess and there's gang fights and stuff. She wants to find something else to do. I mean, so you just have to be attentive to hear all that. So I love doing that. But as I retire and I get older, I just read a great book called From Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks. Same name, last name as you. No E, got an S on the end. But it was really about how, not just in network marketing, that first season of life, there's one curve. I think he calls it the functional curve. It starts with an F. I forget the word. But you're driving, you're growing, you're building, you're like just type A going at it. And most people that when that curve goes down, that's when our world is 401k, rocking chair. How do I phase out of life? But he said, God's real intention is that second phase is greater than the first. It's when you impact the next generation, you mentor, you encourage, you inspire, you take on those people that want to do some of the things that you've done, and you teach them how to run the race better. So, I mean, I just love being around people. I just love being around people and helping them leg up to a life they want versus satisfying with what they've got.
Beautiful philosophy. So, as a wrap, Curt, I'm new. Or you know what? Maybe I'm not so new, but I might as well be new because I'm stuck.
Yeah.
So I'm new to the build. If you were the last person on the planet I was ever going to talk to, and what you said to me was going to have me make it or break it, what would you tell me?
I'm going to just pause 1 second. That's a deep question. It's a good question. Can I ask you, you're talking about if they were in my business or if they were just a life question in general?
Well, let's say they're in Juice Plus.
Okay. I think if someone tells me they're stuck, and I don't think I would vary from what I would say to anybody else. I might, if I knew it was your last ditch effort, I might be a little more teeth, hair, and eyeballs in the game with you. Like I'd be there for you, physically be there. But the questions I would ask would go back to, what did you do the last 2 weeks? Let's get your calendar out. Let's look and see what's on your calendar the last 2 weeks, because that'll tell me if you're just been a busybody. You're saying you're doing all you can do. So I need to know, are you a busybody? Like Paul, and when he was talking to the church in Thessalonica, he said they were all excited, and he comes in and he says, you know what? He says, y'all are busy, but you're busy about the wrong things. So that's one of the things. I want to see your calendar, and you tell me you're busy. What have you been doing? And usually I find out that they think they're like organizing their office and getting business cards, and they're doing things, but they're not doing high pay activities. So we come in, I said, well, it looks like you spent about 2 or 3 hours a week on your Juice Plus business the last 2 weeks. And you're telling me you really want to get this out of it. Well, you got to put into it what you want out of it. So I try to identify some of the things that they're not doing that they think they are doing. And that's a lot of it. And then the second thing I would do is like, who are you talking to? So I want to look at your calendar, and I want to know who you're talking to. Who are you talking to that might be next as a customer or a prospect? Who on your team are you talking to that you need to move along to the next level? And I teach my whole group, Richard, to do 2 things on a weekly basis. I think not having a weekly plan is a big mistake. I think people just go into Monday and see what happens. So on Sunday nights, I send out a nationwide text. It's called Wake Up with Curt, and it's nothing special, but all it does is it's like a cattle prod to poke them and says, hey, be intentional about this week. Don't just let it happen. What are you going to do to make this week happen? And then on Friday morning, they get another message from me, and they ask the question, what did I do this week to move the needle forward? So you plan the week, and then you look back on the week to make sure what you wanted to have happen happened. And so that seems to really keep people in a rhythm that don't naturally do it themselves. It is time management, but I tell people in our business, freedom is what kills you. You get so much freedom. If you don't know how to manage yourself, freedom can be the worst thing you ever got. If you need rigidity in your life, you got to learn how to manage yourself first or you'll fail.
It sounds like, if I could encapsulate it, it might be do the work.
Yeah.
Because the work works.
It does.
And, I think a great analogy for people is you say it differently than I say it, but it's all there. The freedom is your worst enemy. This is the kind of opportunity that you gotta dig deep, and you gotta find your own grit, your own vision, your own motivation, your own reason, your own energy to do the work. And maybe it helps people to see, like, if you were starting a restaurant and you put your life savings into the restaurant,
Yeah.
would you show up whenever you felt like it?
No.
Or would you be there 12 hours a day, 7 days a week until you were sure you weren't going to lose your house?
Yep. No doubt.
And of course, nobody needs to work network marketing 12 hours a day in the beginning. In fact, if you just worked 2,
Yeah.
blow your mind what would happen in a few months.
But the problem, Richard, is the reason the failure rate's so high in our industry is your example is perfect. How much did you spend to start that restaurant? $500,000?
Yeah.
You got a big note at the bank, and it's $52 to start in our business. And it's like the
Right.
cost of a model airplane. So sometimes I think that the cheapness of getting started is a barrier to people's entry to their success because there's no commitment. There's no risk.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it is, it's easier, which should make it easier. And yet maybe sometimes it makes it harder, but the work is worth it if you do the work, I believe. You're a great, great story. You might have been told this before, but you remind me, not just because you're in Georgia, but look and talk. You remind me a lot of Art Williams.
I'm good friends with his daughter, April DeMoss, and our kids went to school together, actually. My kids went to school with his grandkids.
Yeah, that's cool. How about that?
Yep.
Tell people, Curt, where can they find you and where can they get this book? Make a
Well,
Life.
the book, makealife.com, the website, you can get it there. You can get it on Amazon. It's cheaper on Make a Life. My daughter will get them out to you as soon as you need them. And I'm kind of at Curt Beavers everywhere. I got in on the internet game early enough. My handle on every platform is just at Curt Beavers. Love to connect with you in any way that I can bless your life. I'd love to do that.
Thank you, sir. It's been an honor to have you on the Authentic Networker.
Nice to meet you.
This has been the Authentic Networker podcast with your host, Richard Bliss Brooke, and special guest, Curt Beavers. To get more resources from Richard Bliss Brooke, go to richardblissbrooke.com. To get coached by Richard, go to momentummentorship.com. You can find the Authentic Networker podcast on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. We'll see you soon.